Welcome back to The Joy of Vinyl. I'm Rick Coste. So today's episode is going to actually be kind of a fun one. We're going to be talking about albums such as this. There were a lot of rumors in the 70s, 80s about backward masking and secret messages put on records. So we're going to check some out today. If, like me, you spent your teenage years in the 1980s, you saw music and the culture surrounding it go through many changes. Some of it was strange, and we do have MTV to thank for a good portion of that. Well, some of it was pretty cool. Music went through growing pains in the 80s as it struggled with its identity as an artistic expression, struggled with corporate greed, and tested the boundaries of free speech. It was also the decade of the satanic panic, especially in the first half of the decade. The media glommed on and gleefully spread reports of satanic rituals spreading across America. Satanists hid behind every woodshed and gathered in the cemeteries and woods behind your homes or your school. They also hid secret messages in the music we listened to. As a result, bands and artists like Judas Priest and Ozzy Osbourne found themselves on trial. Both California and Alabama proposed bills that would force warning stickers on records to let parents and impressionable kids know that backward masking was present, even if it wasn't. The proposed California bill specifically called out the Antichrist as being responsible for these messages. Was any of it real? No. The fear was real. What about backward masking? Was it real? Well, that's what we're going to take a look at. And this is going to be fun, so get your earphones or your AirPods ready. We don't want to corrupt any young minds who may inadvertently hear these horrific messages being played in their true form. But seriously, though, let's take a brief look at the history behind backward masking. In short, backward masking involves recording a message or piece of music and placing it in the mix backward. When the music is played normally, the message typically isn't heard. Play that music in reverse, and the message becomes audible. Now, the concept of listening to a recording in reverse didn't start in the 1980s. It actually goes back 100 years before that to the inventor of the phonograph, Thomas Edison. Edison may not have advocated putting hidden messages in music, but he did notice something when the music on one of his cylinders was played in reverse. He said this: "The song is still melodious in many cases, and some of the strains are sweet and novel, but altogether different from the song reproduced in the right way." Now jump forward to the early 1900s, and the famed occultist Aleister Crowley reportedly praised the virtues of playing a phonograph record backward. He did so as a training exercise to think backward. Because, well, that's how Satan wants us to think, I suppose. Regardless of its non-presence in the early years of actual recorded history, the first legitimate case of backward masking in music can be found in a 1959 song by the Eligibles called Car Trouble. Let's give it a listen.
Now look at here, cat! Stop running these records backward!
Did you catch what the dad said in the song? He says, "Now looky here, cats. Stop running these records backwards." Yeah, I'll play it again.
Now look at here, cat! Stop running these records backward!
Now, it's easier to hear when I tell you, isn't it? This is more often the case with many of the examples given over the years. Some sound purposeful, while others sound almost like words and phrases if you listen to them enough, and if somebody tells you what to listen for. Let's try a few more. Perhaps the most famous example, and the one which rallied parents and Christian groups into a frenzy over the dangers of rock music, was Led Zeppelin's 1971 hit Stairway to Heaven. At the point in the song where Robert Plant sings, "Yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on," it seems Satan has only one path in mind. The claim is that the band included a secret message to Satan if you play that part backward. For the sake of time, and a bit of suggestive power on my part, I'm going to give you the perceived message up front. Believers in this say they hear the following: "Here's to my sweet Satan, no other made a path, though it makes me sad, whose power is Satan."
Here's to my sweet Satan, the one look at the path would make me sad.
Another famous example of backward masking, which precedes Zeppelin's Stairway by a few years, is one, apparently, if ears are to be believed, done by the Beatles. At the height of their popularity, it was rumored that Paul McCartney had died in a car accident, and the band hid this fact from the public, but hinted at the tragedy through their music. In their song Revolution No. 9 are the words, "Turn me on, dead man." Interesting, right? Now, some examples are just plain fun. Now, here's an obvious plant by Pink Floyd in their song Empty Spaces from their 1979 masterpiece, The Wall. Listen carefully as it isn't loud. It kicks off with the words, "Hello, hunters," and continues with, "Congratulations, you've just discovered the secret message. Please send your answers to Old Pink, care of the Funny Farm, Chalfont."
You've just discovered the secret message. Please send your answer to Old Pink, care of the Funny Farm, Chalfont.
Did you catch it? And how about this one from Queen's 1980 hit Another One Bites the Dust, where Freddie Mercury can be heard explaining how he feels about smoking marijuana. Coincidence? Power of suggestion? Well, perhaps. In many cases, the messages are incoherent and require a little imagination to hear them. Or the message may be blatantly obvious, as in this one from the band ELO and their 1975 song Fire on High. You won't even need me to suggest it for you.
The music is reversible, but time is not. Turn back. Turn back. Turn back. Turn back.
Spooky, but cool. You have to love the genius of Jeff Lynne. A year before that, Lynne may have been dabbling around with the concept on ELO's album El Dorado. If you play a passage of the title track backward, you may hear these words about the nasty one who vexes Christ.
Nasty one, face off and on.
I know, the stuff of nightmares, right? Now, Zeppelin may have hailed Satan if their example is to be believed, but Soundgarden took it a step further in hilarious praise for another supernatural entity on their debut 1988 album, Ultra Mega, with the song 665. Again, you won't need any help from me.
I love you, Santa, baby! Got what I
So here's Santa getting some love while Chris Cornell gives the middle finger to the Satanic Panic at the end of the decade. So where does this all leave us? Well, music as an art form has endless possibilities. As technology progresses, the landscape that is our minds can be shaped audibly by the sounds we hear. Now, I played with this medium a lot during my time creating audio fiction, and you can do a lot with sound design and subtle audio cues. Knowing this, however, can lead people down the road of looking for things that aren't there, as in the sad case of the lawsuit brought against Judas Priest with their song Better By You. The suit claimed that two young men made a suicide pact after hearing the words, "Do it." Now, I've listened, and I can't hear it personally, nor do I believe the band ever planted a secret message in the song. But when you're told what to listen for, more often than not, you'll tilt your head and think, maybe. I thought we might give Weird Al Yankovic and his song Nature Trail to Hell the last word when it comes to backmasking and the evil power behind it, specifically when it comes to the devil's favorite food. Yep, I have to admit, I like Cheese Whiz too.